This is IGN.
Jack Quaid is irresistible as a pathetic man who can take a punch. This is your IGN review of Novocaine by Lena Wilson. Edgar Wright made a name for himself with action comedies like Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, movies where normal, flawed dudes reluctantly kick ass and get the girl. But it's been a while since we had a great one of those, so the space was open for directors Dan Burke and Robert Olson, best known for indie films like Significant Other and Villains, to take their own stab at that concept with Novocaine, a gnarly action comedy romp about a guy with a rare genetic disorder who risks it all to save his one-night stand. Despite its shallow gimmick, Novocaine delivers a sharp script and a fresh take on the hapless hero, as brought to life by the irresistible Jack Quaid of The Boys fame. Right off the bat, it's apparent that Nathan Cain, played by Quaid, isn't your typical schlubby hero by accident. He's got a great sleep schedule, he drinks green smoothies for breakfast, and, well, he looks like the progeny of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. But growing up with SIPA, an often fatal condition that makes it impossible for Nathan to feel pain or even temperature, has made for a very sheltered life of trying not to accidentally die. It's a lonely existence, so after his work crush Sherry, played by Amber Midthunder, coaxes Nathan out of his shell and into bed, it's no wonder that he's willing to put it all on the line to save her from a trio of kidnappers the very next day. After all, he's on an all-liquid diet for fear of biting off his own tongue, and this is the woman who fed him his first ever bite of pie. Nathan might be oblivious to physical harm, but he otherwise could not be less suited for hand-to-hand combat, and that contrast is delicious. As he stumbles into vigilante justice, he strives, with all the decorum his assistant bank manager job requires, to outrun police detectives, career criminals, and his own mortality. It's not hard to root for someone who's down so bad he'll stick his hand in a deep fryer, someone who pukes in distress after his first kill. It's not every day you get to see a guy who reeks of having an up-to-date LinkedIn profile learn to fire a stolen gun. Nathan's written with care, humor, and specificity, hallmarks of Lars Jacobson's clever script. There are some guys who are just plain bad, but most characters resist the straightforward morality typical of most action movies. Sherry is an excellent example of that complexity. Though she may be the impetus for Nathan's spree, she's no damsel. Nathan, who has recklessly forsaken his Bubble Boy-esque existence for a John Wick-style quest, is clearly the one in distress. The premise is silly and the bloodshed is plentiful, but Novocaine is far from unfeeling. Perhaps its greatest asset is its earnestness. Our wet cat of a protagonist isn't the only one who risks life and limb for human connection, and while the kidnappers are mostly just sociopathic thugs, one character turns out to be a great foil for Nathan with a very different relationship to pain. By the end, it's apparent that Novocaine isn't just about some guy who can't feel physical pain. This is a story about the emotional agony of vulnerability and the depths we'll go to share our lives and our feelings with other people. It's set during the Christmas season, but the fact that Novocaine is premiering almost exactly 5 years after we all went into isolation in response to the COVID-19 pandemic feels somehow more appropriate. We've all seen plenty of movies with fish-out-of-water heroes who groan or flail their way through fights. These can lean too far into cynicism, offering so much self-awareness that there's little room to surprise or delight. For a recent example, see the horror romance Love Hurts. Novocaine, by contrast, effectively sells this well-trod cliché thanks in large part to Quaid, whose character feels grounded despite his wildly unusual circumstances. Quaid brings Nathan to vivid, glorious life, adding a sort of gawky ferality that is a real joy to watch. Humanizing details from the script, like the fact that Nathan's online handle is Magic Nateball, pair perfectly with Quaid's impenetrable charm. Novocaine offers more depth than its gimmicky man-who-feels-no-pain premise may lead you to believe. This movie breathes new life into old ideas, with an original hero buoyed by the charm of Jack Quaid, and a heroine who ably beats the damsel in distress allegations. Novocaine is smart, but not so self-aware that it's likely to alienate anybody. Sharp, but not without feeling. This isn't a game changer, but it signals a much-needed return to originality for popcorn action movies. Here's to more of this sort of clever storytelling and character writing that reminds us of a time when seeing movies in theaters was just plain fun. Novocaine's IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on Novocaine, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.